Conan, what is best in life? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of their women. That is good.
X gon' give it to you. Fuck, wait for you to get it on your own. X gon' deliver to you. Knock, knock, open up the door, it's real. With the non-stop pop from stainless steel. Go hard getting busy with it. But I got such a good heart that I make the motherfucker wonder if you did it. Damn right, and I do it again. Cause I am life, so I got to.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Exodus Americanus, the only podcast powered by 100% clean, burning biohatred. I'm the White Power Ranger at Roscoe SB Jones, sitting in the left seat, filling in for our stalwart compatriot, Mr. Stone, at Exo-Americanus on Twitter, who will return next week with a plethora of new butt stuff. I'm joined by our very own chief propagandist, Donald Bateman. He's at Nationalism Rise. And while you've got a minute, make sure you head over to www.exodusamericanus.com, click that donate button, help us pay for these server fees. And now, let's start the Exodus.
So we haven't started?
Oh, no, we started, but I wasn't recording a backup.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I would hate to lose all that neat content farm droning.
Exactly.
Some premium content.
Well, if we lost it or something, we'd have to do some content that's behind a paywall.
Yeah, like very exclusive.
The members only section where we troubleshoot and figure out how to work the software without Mr. Stone.
So I read this article. It's Greg Johnson, really good guy. Countercurrents.
Oh yeah,
it was a pretty old article, but it was about how basically conservatives can't understand The Dark Knight Rises because it's anti-capitalist and they can never kind of move beyond that viewpoint. And he was talking about how Bane, like the Wayne Enterprises guy, they paid him off, and then Bane shows up and he's like, "Yeah, I'm doing my own thing." The guy's like, "But we paid you all this money." And then Bane says, "You think that gives you power over me?"
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the thing, that's the thing that the right wing has abandoned. That force is what makes things happen.
That's all a law. A law is just something that you got the goddamn power to enforce.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, and in politics, it's just war by other means. And so when they insist on fighting with both hands behind their back, it's hard to win that way.
But my principles.
Yeah, enjoy your principles when you get macheted by a fucking Somali.
No fucking thank you.
Your principles won't bandage your wound.
Yeah, your principles can't unrape your children.
Yeah, unrape. That is an interesting word.
Yeah, well, you want to hear some other interesting words?
I want to tell you about death panels. Hey, you're 18-month-olds running around talking, having a great time, saying ABC. Go get covered with shots. Your kid ain't ever going to talk again, and they're going to die of brain cancer at age 10. How's that sound? Get covered by the New World Order. Get murdered right now. Go get an abortion right now. Kill all the black babies right now. Get covered.
See, I can get on board with
the
that.
New World Order. I'm LeBron James. This message brought to you by Satan.
See, if we would have aborted Bron James, Cleveland wouldn't have won a championship, and all be right in the world.
Yeah, they might have finally bulldozed Cleveland and put it out of our misery.
Well, I think that's why there weren't big chimp outs at the RNC, because they're coming off that Cleveland victory. They're still pretty happy.
Fuck. So, one of the things that I thought we might talk about while we were... I can't find anything about that firebomb in Paris.
Yeah, it was just... I saw one Twitter video.
It's astounding how quick this shit is happening.
Yeah.
And, I mean, there's only so much of this shit that we can talk about.
Oh, definitely. Or even remember.
Well, what else is there to say about it?
Yeah.
We told you this would fucking happen.
Europe is still getting
happening.
fucked. They still haven't done anything. Or still waiting for them to do something.
Right. And, I mean, we all knew there was going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's annoying because with Europe, there's not much, we can do. Not even as the U.S. They really have to be the ones to save themselves. Otherwise, it'd be like World War II. We swoop in, and then they shit the bed all over again.
I don't want to lose all that. Just the Lion Monument is enough to motivate me to save Europe.
Well, that's the worst thing. Like all these places we've lost, like California. I mean, that was the most beautiful part of America. It used to be a paradise, and now it's a paradisial. But not even that. Well, maybe for them.
Yeah, somebody I work with told me they were going to California in a couple of weeks, and I asked them if they had their passports and everything renewed and ready to go.
Yeah, I like to drop those kind of subtle red pills. It's like, when I'm talking to a friend, when we're in a city like ours, I'm just like, it doesn't look like America around here, And then they'll agree, but they feel a little uncomfortable about it. Mm-hmm. But they know what you're talking about.
Well, it's kind of funny. I caught some of these dudes that claim to be like liberal faggots.
Mm-hmm.
I caught them telling racial jokes the other day.
Nice.
And it wasn't anything too good, like what would you call the Flintstones if they were black? Niggers. It's a classic. So I hit him with...
Those are classics.
I hit him with my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
What's the worst part about being a black Jew?
What?
You have to sit in the back of the oven.
That's a good one.
They were not ready for that.
DeMarcus will get triggered by that.
DeMarcus Leibowitz.
See, that's the thing about me. Like, I went to a pretty diverse middle school, and the thing about those is everyone is ruthless with the jokes. I mean, I heard so many Jew jokes from the age of 10. Probably also because of South Park influences kids, of course, on that end. But yeah, like, Jew jokes, baby jokes. I mean, I was pretty desensitized by the age of, like, 11, 12 to all of that.
Now, hold on a second. If we are... the whole point of what we're doing tonight, since Mr. Stone isn't with us, is complete unstructured shit posting.
Naturally.
So,
more than usual.
Oh, yeah. But, like back up a second. Go back about 5 seconds to from where you were.
Okay.
I got something for you.
Wait, what do I back up to?
What you were saying before I reminded everyone that we were doing esoteric podcasting.
Oh, I completely forgot. I'm already kind of drunk.
All right, me too. Fuck it.
What was I talking about?
That's a good question. Shit. Might have to edit
so
some of this out.
You don't even remember what you reminded me about. No, this is the content our hundreds of listeners tune in for.
The hundreds and hundreds of good goyim.
See, it was more fun when I could say dozens, because that was more of a hipster cred. But, I don't know, we're getting kind of Hollywood now.
Big if true. That means I'll have to start getting my pants tailored.
Well, that means we need to start, like, just really dropping the quality so we can drop our numbers back to a reasonable level.
Well, I got a feeling this show might do it.
We don't have the steady hand of Stone to guide us into a topic. I was going to say back to our topics, but I don't think we even have a single topic.
Oh, no.
No, actually, no, I have that one I was talking about. So, a big thing, with the autistes, it's more pronounced, but basically putting any kind of principles or ideology over survival for one, and of course the will to power.
Yep. And that's sort of where I've been for a long time. It's like ideologies are great, and we can fight about that.
Yeah.
After we secure a future for our people.
Well, the thing about ideology, you can only interpret it within the context of the time it came about. Like, the hunter-gatherer ideology. It would make no sense now. Back then, it was the best shit around, Or, I see this a lot with the people that, like, refuse to admit that Hitler did anything wrong. And I'm always like, dude, he lost the war, and now Germany is a shit show. So he did something wrong.
Yeah, he fucking lost.
And so I think that also just that goes into the NEET mindset, where they want to blame everyone except themselves on for their problems. And I think they see Hitler as the avatar of man who was wronged, when they don't realize, why the fuck do you invade Russia during the winter, bud?
Oh my god.
I think being a NEET is basically like invading Russia in the winter. It's fucking stupid.
You gotta get out there, man. You gotta fight in meat space.
Not NEET space.
Exactly. You're not gonna change the world down there with your tendies.
That could be a possible title. Meat space, not NEET space.
Oh.
We'll probably think of like 5 better ones, but I'm going to write it down just in case, because I will forget it.
Note taken.
But yeah, we had someone actually spurg out on one of my fellow Goilers week. And it's funny because he spurred out about something that happened like 2 or 3 weeks ago, them going on the Showa. And so he basically like tweeted, like, oh, Houston Goilers, like, think they're so cool being mean-spirited to other whites. And I talked to this guy, I was like, okay, so you're claiming to be a right-winger who wants to establish an ethno-state, which is going to be very violent, but you're afraid about someone being mean-spirited on the internet?
Yeah. Time to toughen up, Buttercup.
That's what I call a pussy. That's the problem with kids who didn't play sports growing up. I mean, our dads were coaches, so we know you have to be fucking tough to win.
Yeah, like I had a pretty significant injury that was misdiagnosed while I was playing.
Yeah.
And, because they thought it was so minor, they just told me, yeah, if you're tough enough, you'll be all right.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out it was a pretty traumatic fucking injury.
Yeah, you just played through it?
Well, shit. They told me that the only thing keeping me from playing was whether or not I was tough.
Yeah. You don't need water. Water's for pussies.
Right? Oh, man, just get it done.
Mm-hmm. I think it's also kind of a southern thing, because we all know Yankees are pretty soft.
Well, they've become rootless cosmopolitans.
Yeah.
They don't have that. They don't have the ties to the blood and soil like we do. They've all basically been turned into a bunch of shifty, sweaty Jew parodies.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because the whole meme has been pushed by Hollywood, the media, for decades. That if you stay near your hometown, you're a loser. Which means if you keep your blood and soil connections close, you're a loser. And you should move off to the big city, goy. Become a cog in the machine.
Yeah, like, God forbid you set up generational wealth in a community.
Yeah, or own land.
Terrible.
Oh, being close to your parents who birthed you? Like, oh no.
Right? Like, I live a few hours away from my parents.
Yeah.
And every time I get to eat my mom's cooking, it's basically the best thing that's happened to me since the last time I got to eat her cooking.
Yeah, it's great stuff. I mean, people that will unconditionally love you, like, that's the thing that doesn't exist in the Rootless Cosmopolitans playbook.
Oof.
Except their cat. But even their cat doesn't really love them. They kind of ignore them.
Yeah, and the cat's going to eat them, probably
when
within
they're
an
dead.
hour after they die.
See, that's how I respect cats, because, dogs, while they're great and they're loyal, they kind of cuck for their owners. Not gonna lie, they have the slave mentality. Thing about a cat, he recognizes no man as his master. So I respect that.
The cat is the pet that really embodies the gorilla mindset.
Oh, yeah. The feline mindset. Well, what was it like? The Egyptians, they thought the cats could, like, basically exist in different spiritual realms. Was that them? I know some ancient... Yeah, it was them. And I can kind of see that, because whenever I see a cat... I was actually at my grandma's house a couple weeks ago, and she has cats. And I was kind of looking at one, and we got in a little staring contest, and, cats are on something. They're on a different level.
Well, it's funny you should mention that, because cats have a chemical in their brain that is more or less the same type of reaction that we get from LSD.
And brain force.
And brain force. You got to be careful. If you say Alex Jones' name 3 times, he'll show up and start yelling about killing black babies.
Will be played.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've said it twice now, and if we mention Alex Jones again...
I think I'm going to record a realhealthcare.gov commercial saying get covered. And I'm just going to list everything. Get covered in death panels, get covered in euthanasia, get covered in triple pricing, get covered in total surveillance in your healthcare records being public, get covered today! Are you racist? You're racist! Our Lord and Savior, Barack Obama! Jamie Foxx looks like he's having an orgasm. He goes, Barack Obama!
Oh.
Okay, if I saw that commercial, I'd probably sign up for Obamacare, just to not be that.
Right?
Alex Jones needs some Obamacare.
So I was looking through my notifications on Twitter.
Yeah.
And I keep getting people sending me pictures of salads.
Why?
Because I was on the alt-right fight this Friday night.
Okay.
Show that you've been on.
Yeah.
Ton of fun.
Good guys.
It was an all-star panel when I was there.
Yeah.
But the host, Ken, was finishing up his dinner, which was this, like, just gorgeous salad with, like, balsamic vinaigrette and I guess
I like a good salad.
Oh yeah, it was just a
As
gorgeous,
an entree, not a full meal, but a great entree.
a gorgeous, artisanal salad.
Mm-hmm.
And I went into the Bateman mindset.
Yeah.
I said that artisanal dinner salads are the last implicit stand of white identity.
Very true.
And I'm dying, man. Getting all these gorgeous looking salads.
You got to retweet those. Share it with the timeline.
Right? Let's get on up in here.
Did you see the picture that Alex Jones posted? It was today. No, it was yesterday. So I can't send it through the chat. Actually, no, I can. I'll send it through the chat. But basically, it's on his Twitter page, and the caption is, "Celebrating Americana with some red meat. F you, Obama." And then he's holding a tray with like all these steaks and hamburgers and hot dogs, and it looks like really good stuff. But just the look at his face. Do you see it?
Yeah, I pulled it up right now.
And then people started roasting him on Twitter because of his plates in the background. I don't know what's going on there.
Right?
He's got some vertical plates so the chemtrails don't get on him.
Yeah, who was the contractor that set you up with that shit?
I don't know. Like, who took the picture, too?
Probably his Jew wife.
Oy vey. Is that red meat kosher going?
Well,
got some Hebrew nationals on the left there.
Well, it looks like we've got some filet mignon wrapped in pork belly.
So maybe she's a non-practicing one.
Yeah, we got hot dogs in there. It's hard to have a kosher hot dog.
Hebrew national.
Oh my god, this but the worst part is the look on his face as he's holding all this meat.
Yeah, there's some deep melancholy in his eyes.
He looks like he made that tray out of people.
The globalists.
Big if true. Oh,
they're putting chemical in the hot dogs. Turn the freaking frogs gay.
Oh god, gotta watch out for the gay frogs.
Yeah.
So I've been on a poll some lately, looking at the meme magic.
Yeah.
What?
That's where it comes from.
Oof. Well, I was in one of those crazy threads about the frog god Keck or whatever they call it.
Oh yeah, great stuff.
Man,
I mean, they have some pretty convincing narratives there. Like, I'm like, okay, I could get on board with this.
I can entertain this idea.
Mm-hmm. I still prefer sun worship, Sol Invictus, but it's a little too hot when you go outside. So I'm kind of, It's almost 100 degrees today in Texas.
And you can't worship the moon because the moon's feminine.
Except Moon Man. He's masculine.
Moon Man is exceptionally masculine. I wish we had a Moon Man song that we could just play so we could go fuck off for a little while.
That could be our bumper song.
KKK. KKKK.
We need to use this Alex Jones meat pick as our episode pick, though, for sure.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to have to save that.
It's a great one.
Listen up, you globalist scum. We're coming after you, and we're taking you on. I got the filters, and I got the brain force.
See, what we should have done, since Stone's gone, we should have just made like a... I bet there's some kind of voice software where you can sound like Alex Jones, and then have one of us just play two characters. There has to be a way.
Have one of us interview Alex Jones.
And just use clips. That could be a good future thing. Like, we asked him questions, and we just drop drops.
Oh, well, I heard somebody did one of those with Stefan Molyneux.
Yeah.
And they make him say, "My mother was a Jew. And that's why she's dead now."
See, I wonder if there's any, like, Jews out there, kind of like the Clayton Bigsby types, but just, like, super anti-Semitic Jews. I think there's a few on the alt-right, actually.
Wait, I'm not sure who Clayton Bigsby is.
Okay, so the Dave Chappelle skit where he's the black white supremacist.
Oh, okay,
the blind
okay.
guy.
I got you.
And he becomes, like, the KKK leader, because they're always in the masks. And then one day, like, he takes it off, and then, like, their heads start exploding. But then even after he finds out he's black, he divorces his wife because she's a nigger lover.
Whoa.
It's a very funny skit.
We can't say nigger on this podcast.
Well, you just did.
We might have been some of the porch monkeys that are listening.
We're gonna lose that's probably the bulk of our listening base at this point.
All these droids tuning in to hear X gonna give it to you.
Yeah, they hear that traps them in for another hour. Because we all know how much blacks enjoy esoteric podcasts.
Hey man, I think these niggas be racist.
Hey, you check that new Exodus Americanus, nigga. It's good shit. Fuck them NEETs though.
Oh god. So when's the good boy point gonna surpass the U.S. dollar for value?
I feel like it already has. I don't know. I mean, I follow Zero Hedge on Twitter, so I think there's been about 500 financial crashes in the last week.
Every time I try to read an article on Zero Hedge, I'm just like, your fucking aesthetics are terrible, guys.
Yeah. Well, I remember when I first heard of it, I read a few articles and I was like, oh shit, is a crash gonna happen soon? And then a week goes on and they pump out the same article. And I'm like, okay, it didn't happen last week. And then repeat that for 6 months. I mean, I still follow them because they're pretty based on Assad and Russia and that kind of geopolitics, but bro, it's not collapsing tomorrow.
Well, a lot of the people that thought the collapse was going to come thought that the Fed would obey the law.
Yeah, which was so naive.
Yeah, are you is this your first rodeo here?
I think, again, it's that problem of that Anglo mindset where they assume everyone else will play by the same rules they are. And this actually goes back to the Revolutionary War. Because if you remember in The Patriot, by alt-right champion Mel Gibson, when the British would just line up in straight lines in the field, Mel Gibson comes up behind him, war whooping like an engine, and popping him in the back of the neck, and then just disappearing in the woods. And that's basically what everyone does to us, because we're still fighting by that Anglo mindset.
Oh, God. So I heard Mel Gibson wanted to apologize to somebody.
Yeah?
I'm really, really sorry about your big noses. I'm really sorry about how greedy you are. But most of all, I'm really sorry about your dirty, underhanded, backstabbing ways. Your number one dirty Jew fan, Mel Gibson.
Your number one dirty Jew fan.
I can't wait for Mel Gibson to play Trump in the biography movie of his life.
Oh, that'll be great. So,
I mean, all you need is a hairpiece. He could pull it off.
Oh, for sure. He's got the... Well, he's kind of short, though, isn't he?
They can do tricks to make anyone look tall. They make Robert Downey Jr. look like a badass. Dude's 5'4".
They make Tom Cruise look like he's people-sized.
Although I do like Tom Cruise. I mean, I don't think I've not enjoyed a movie he's been in.
Days of Thunder?
I didn't see that, so it doesn't count.
All right. I actually like Days of Thunder, but most people don't enjoy NASCAR.
Edge of Tomorrow was... I actually really like NASCAR. I used to have a NASCAR game when I was 10 or 11 years old, and I would always go backwards and crash Jeff Gordon. The guy just kind of seemed like a tool to me.
There was a NASCAR game on the Nintendo 64.
Oh, yeah?
And I think that was the first time that I was ever concerned that I might have autism. Because I did an entire 500-mile race.
Oh my god, how long did that take?
All day.
Did you get up to pee, or did you just kind of get a water bottle there?
I paused a few times.
Adult diaper? Guess how do the NASCAR guys do it? Because I assume they have a pretty steady buzz by the time they get in those cars. And they have to break the seal at some point. Do they just piss on the crew guys switching out the tires? Is there a guy for that?
They just let it go, man.
Yeah, once they soak themselves in champagne after the race, no one can tell the difference.
Well, it's just awful for those guys. You know how bad it is. If you're after you get done working out and you're just so parched, and then they have to chug milk or something because they're sponsored by Nestle.
Yeah.
Ugh.
See, all my NASCAR knowledge comes from NASCAR video games, where I'd either play as Dale Earnhardt, or I'd crash everyone by going backwards, which I'd mostly do that. And Talladega Nights, the movie.
If NASCAR were more like Talladega Nights, I would never miss a race.
Oh, yeah. There's none of those big personalities, though, I feel like.
Everything I know about NASCAR comes from beer commercials.
Yeah.
Oh shit! So I was thinking about something about the age of the alt-right,
Mm-hmm.
and just the exposure that South Park gave everyone to anti-Semitism
Exactly.
and making it such a joke. Like, I wonder if that was sort of laying the groundwork for kids to accept
agree.
negative Jewish influence.
I think I was talking about this yesterday after our hate hike with the Goylers. But yeah, I mean, the thing about South Park, they left no taboo undisturbed. I mean, they would go after anyone. And so, I mean, they're really one of the main people fighting against PC culture.
I mean, at the end of the day, they are faggots and they do have to go back.
Well, naturally. But they fought the good fight.
Yeah. They can still make South Park when they're living in Tel Aviv.
I mean, I would love for Cartman, if he slimmed down a little bit, to become the Fuhrer. He's got that visionary mindset.
He's always ahead of the curve.
Well, I love it when, like, he hated gingers, and then they made him become a ginger, and they thought that would make him stop. Instead, he leads a ginger uprising.
That's some serious will to power shit right there, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, there's so many episodes where he made a kid eat his own parents
Scott Tenner.
while Radiohead watched. I mean, that is a power move. There was that one where he became the preacher and, like, made millions of dollars and started, like, a tent revival thing.
There was the episode where he was playing Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
Why can't I reach these kids?
There's the one where he was waiting for the Wii to come out, and he got so impatient he went like 1,000 years into the future. I respect that. That's a very is that high or low time preference? Because technically he waited 1,000 years. I don't know.
We're gonna have to ask the autiste to chime in on cryostasis.
Crunch the numbers on that.
Yeah, like, it's a cryostasis degenerate.
Well, that's kind of like the whole thing of Futurama. It's set around that.
Well, is transhumanism degenerate?
If other people do it, yes, but if I can do it, no, because it sounds fucking awesome.
Right? Like, I could enjoy exploring untold galaxies as an AI tethered to a ship.
So this actually ties into something I meant to talk about. Well, mean to, because we still have plenty of time, obviously, but Peter Thiel, he actually wants to live forever, and he thinks he can. And he's, like, heavily researching that kind of stuff. Like, I just googled Peter Thiel, and the first article that pops up, Peter Thiel isn't the first to think young people's blood will make him immortal. So he might be a vampire.
Oh, God. So I'm pretty sure I heard Alex Jones talking about that the other day.
Mm-hmm.
That, like, the Queen of England before the current one used to do all kinds of weird shit with blood.
Yeah. Well, this article is saying that the ancient Greeks and Leonardo da Vinci both believed this too.
Well, fuck. If Leonardo da Vinci believed it, then I guess it's true. I mean, he wrote the Da Vinci Code.
Yeah. And he was the guy in Titanic.
And the beach, which I didn't care for so much.
Mm-hmm. I also read this other article about Peter Thiel today. It's called Peter Thiel's Plan to Become CEO of America. It's very interesting.
Go on.
It's kind of saying how, like... Yeah, so I actually sent this to, like, this group me of college normies I'm with. They're smart. I mean, they're smart, politically engaged, but, you know, they're fucking normies. But I've been trying to red pill them against democracy for a long time. I remember there was this one time we all went to lunch, and I got really drunk. Like, everyone else was having, like, one margarita. I think I had about 3, and I was like, listen here, guys. This is why no one should be allowed to vote. I went on, like, a pretty long tangent. But I got, like, you know, several people to agree with me. You know, obviously all white males.
Well,
all the women were like, what?
I love looking at people and telling them that universal suffrage is universal suffering. And it takes them a minute to put all of that together.
Yeah.
And then the look of horror in their eyes.
See, my way, it's like, when I'm trying to go against society, I try to do it in very novel ways. So instead of just saying, shouldn't vote, which of course they shouldn't, I say no one should vote. And they're just not prepared to deal with those kind of arguments.
So I was out at an event in my town yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And some lady asked me if I liked her Hillary button.
Just out of the blue?
Well, just sort of wandering around, and
Yeah.
somebody sort of ended up talking to. But I just gave her this look like, I think you're retarded.
Yeah.
She asked me why I didn't like Hillary. And I said, I think it would probably behoove both of us if we just agreed to disagree on this. 'Cause if we get
Let's
into
just
this,
skip this whole argument.
it's like, because if you keep pushing, there won't be any going back.
Yeah.
Like,
Once your power level is revealed, you can't just cloak it back.
Yeah, it's like I'm not gonna lie to you if you make me go down this road or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But she kept pushing and kept pushing.
She wanted it then.
And then I just sort of clubbed her to death with the way I am wont to do to normies with facts and statistics and just I kind of have a overwhelming persona.
Yeah.
In person.
Will to power.
Yeah. And like, well, I guess we'll just agree to disagree. It's like, well, not really. It's like, guys, right now my main prerogative is to take all of the leftist voters like you and like the Bernie boys and disenfranchise them so much and demoralize them so much that not only do they not go vote, they don't even get out of bed on election day.
Nice.
And the look of horror on her face was just like, but I want the fairness. It's like, no. Fuck your fairness.
That's the thing, like, people like that, their entire life, they haven't been really challenged on their core beliefs. Like, when normies think about arguments, they think about surface shit, like, oh, should we let trannies in our fucking bathrooms? Or, how many drugs should we legalize? It's all on a spectrum of degeneracy. And I read this interesting article, it basically said, like, within a political system, and this is the reason why capitalism won the Cold War, it's because it allows dissent more than the Soviets did. Soviets just allowed no dissent. They purged it.
Capitalism monetizes the dissent. And
the thing about capitalism, it always orients the dissent towards arguing for more of the current system. So, you'll have people arguing, oh, we need more people voting. We need more equality. We need more, equal treatment.
It's like, guys, I know exactly what will fix everything. One more, just one more layer of bureaucracy.
Yeah. Let's get more government programs.
That's all we need is a few more government oversight offices to oversee these government offices.
I remember Bernie wanted
all the other government offices.
Yeah. Bernie wanted 16-year-olds to be able to vote so he could beat Hillary. So that's the thing, like, their arguments are always tilted in a further and further spiral into, the abyss. But if you bring up one argument that's going in the other direction, and that's the thing about conservatives, they never go in the other direction, they just try to slow down the march to progress, which is, the march to oblivion. But when you take something the other direction, like, yeah, I think we should probably have an absolute ruler who will purge all dissidents, and no one should be able to vote. And you just say that, and then people just, like, they short circuit. They don't even know how to respond to that.
And it's so fun, because...
Yeah. It's funny, because, like, when they know you're, a conservative, so-called, they're already gearing up the John Oliver talk points in their head. But then you drop I think Paul Ryan's a faggot. I think no one should vote. And I think we should probably nationalize the banks. And then they're just like, wait, what?
Well, even, like, fucking normies can't even follow that much of a conversation. They're like, oh, I don't know who Paul Ryan is, because I don't know shit about shit.
Yeah.
Like, well, if you stop trying to get your news off the Daily Show like a fucking retard,
yeah, go to
then
the Daily
maybe
Show.
You might know your ass from a hole in the ground.
I mean, to be honest, though, it should be the Weekly Show. It does not happen every day.
Yeah, Daily Show was all right. I mean,
it's for the pun. I get it.
It's a mainstream kind of show. I mean, it's okay.
Yeah, it's no Exodus Americanus.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
Mm-hmm.
They play by their own rules.
Well, it's kind of like Katy Perry. Very popular, but kind of ditzy.
And then there's Justin Bieber, who's throwing eggs at Jews and spitting on them.
Yep. We're the Justin Bieber of the podcast scene.
Oh, baby, oh, baby.
But see, also that argument thing, like, I don't just apply it to normies. Like, I also like to do it on Twitter with alt-right people. Because I think a lot of them, too, it's like, I've noticed a lot of people, it's like the really low follower accounts, or people that seem very new to it, they'll, like, bitch at me like, what, you're criticizing Hitler? And I'm like, yeah, he fucking lost, dude. And then their whole cult of personality they built up around him, it's just like, but.
Well, they built up this cult of personality around Hitler.
Yeah.
And they were able to do that. They come out of libertarianism or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they find these moral reasons why what Hitler did was okay or justified.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what Hitler allegedly did.
Yeah.
Supposedly did. And they just keep themselves trapped in that libertarian...
It's like their first little step there.
That cucked universal morality.
Mm-hmm. And then also, it's like, they haven't read, like, serious philosophy, and they're still stuck on the... he had good intentions, like, his work lives on. It's like, okay, I played a lot of sports growing up, and if someone said they tried their best, but they fucking lost, they're not getting, fucking ice cream after the game. They fucking lost.
Yeah, like...
losers don't get trophies.
When they recorded it after the game, they didn't write, X school lost, but they tried really, really hard.
Mm-hmm.
No, they lost.
I think it's a lot of, like, just really young people kind of internalizing those, everyone gets a trophy kind of mindset, which is total fucking bullshit.
Well, they don't even have the slightest inkling of, will to power. Like,
yeah.
The greatest men that ever lived, was it illegal for Caesar to cross the Rubicon? Yeah, but he fucking did it.
Mm-hmm.
Was it illegal for Napoleon to come back from his exile?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the soldiers that were sent out to kill him were given explicit orders not to talk to the fucker.
Mm-hmm.
But he did it anyway.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, we need to admire the people that actually won, not the people that were well-intentioned and lost, because they fucking lost. I mean, history is written by the victors, and you can only learn so much. Like, people like to say, I think this has become a Silicon Valley meme. It's like, you learn more from failure than you do from success. It's like, I think that's what losers say. I think you learn a hell of a lot more from success.
Well, success is built out of a lot of trial and error.
True.
And
I mean, like, from total failure, though. Like, if you lose your entire country, you're done. Like, no one's caring about what the Aztec war chiefs, what their military strategy was, because they got their shit wrecked.
And there's a reason why people still look at the shit that Hannibal did.
Yeah.
His pincer maneuvers.
I mean, he won for like 10 years.
Man, until what it was Scipio Africanus that put him down, right?
And the thing was, at that time, they called back Hannibal, and they basically didn't have the funds to put out a real army. So Scipio was a boss, but it wasn't an even battle. So yeah, Hannibal's a boss, but you can never say he's the greatest general because he didn't conquer Rome.
He gave Rome a lot of trouble, though. I'll take my hat off.
Oh yeah, I mean, he got the closest that anyone did towards single-handedly taking him down. I mean, Rome destroyed itself. They weren't taken down by any one person.
I mean, that's how the great empires always go.
I think so, yeah. I mean, Britain did it to themselves.
The United States did it to themselves.
Oh yeah.
And then the Jews look over and say, and I helped.
Well, it's interesting. I just read this book. So it's called The Total Art of Stalinism. And it's dictatorship and ascetics, the avant-garde. And it's basically talking about how Stalin, after he purged Trotsky, which total power move, he basically... So he had a different outlook to art than anyone else. A lot of people, they think of art as observing reality and commenting on it. And he wanted to get rid of all of that. So instead, he had the artists basically in positions of power in the government. And basically, they created a new reality through their art. Which is, I think, what we kind of do through meme magic, if you think about it.
Yeah. I think that's a good place for us to go into our first break.
I agree.
So we're going to step away for a minute, guys. We're going to refill our glasses, and we will be right back. Just two good old goers posting memes on the tombs. Beats all you ever knew. Been in trouble with the Jews since the day they were born. Building a wall, gonna deport some spics. Someday the niggers might get 'em, but the Jews never will. Fighting the filth, the only way they know how. That's just a little bit more than the Swiffles allow. Just two good old goers. If they'll change, they won't say. Crushing out commies like old Colonel A. Pinochet. Welcome back to the free-form, existential, hipster podcast of the alt-right, Exodus Americanus. I'm the White Power Ranger. With me, as always, the Minister of Propaganda, Donald Bateman himself. All right, we're going to come back in swinging. What do we got up first?
I'd say we probably should do some shitposting. We were talking about putting people in trunks over the break. So, tell the famous joke, if people haven't heard it, about the dog.
Oh, yeah. If you want to understand loyalty, lock your dog and your wife in your trunk for an hour. And when you open it, take a careful notice of which one's happy to see you.
Classic. Although it also implicates dogs as being cucks. But if it's your cuck, that's good. That's what the will of power is about, cucking others.
It's about forcing everyone else to bend the knee to you.
Yeah. So I have a relevant story. Back in my high school days, I don't want to get too specific, but I'm sure a lot of people have done this. So there's always that one kid that kind of hangs around your group that no one really wants to be there, but you don't always have the heart to tell them to fuck off.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have a lot of those in the alt-right, obviously. They're called NEETs.
Yep.
But yeah, so there's a kid like that, just kind of followed us around. Kind of fat kid, just kind of annoying, and not in an endearing fat kid way, So basically one day, it was like four of us rolling around in my car, and so I was driving, and then one of the kids was like, the kid's name. Like, you're too fat, like, we don't want you in the car. Classic high school, being a dick to other people. And so I was like, all right, yeah, like, I'll call him, what should I call him? I'll say just Bob. That's obviously not his name. But I was like, yeah, Bob, why don't you get in the trunk so we have some more room in the back seat? And I was kidding. Like, I didn't think you'd actually do it. The kid fucking gets in the trunk. And so, once he's in there, I'm not going to let this opportunity go to waste. So we're just driving around town, slamming on the brakes, having a grand old time. He was not very pleased. I'm pretty sure the kid farted while I was in there. Just a terrible situation for him. So we let him out, and you ever seen like the face of a man who's just broken on the inside? That was him.
Oof.
So speaking of will to power, like I think I've been using it for a long time implicitly, but only recently I've been explicit about it.
Well, once you learn how to be explicit about your will to power, and I think that's the big secret. Like ideology, that shit's worthless.
It's for fags.
Yeah. I mean, will to power is where it's at.
Like, you might use ideology as a weapon. Like, going back to that Dark Knight Rises article, he's basically saying, how Bane, he kind of whips the people up into a frenzy and says, the town is yours, take it back. But the whole time he's planning to nuke them. So he doesn't believe in the ideology he's talking about. He understands its power over the people.
That's it.
And that's what you need to think about, like, on the Democrats on the left. Yeah, there are some true believers, but they're not the ones in power. The ones in power are the ones who know how to use that ideology to whip people up into a frenzy.
To put people on their plantation, so to speak?
Yeah, and I think that's kind of how I even look at the Trump movement in a strategy versus tactics kind of way. Because right now our tactic is to talk about populism, the will of the people, blah, blah, blah. But I don't really want populism. Like, the people are fucking dumb.
That is correct.
But it's a good rallying cry while we still have democracy to get them to turn out to the polls. But once we seize power, we don't want them voting.
Well, on Fashion the Nation this week, Papal Heretic was talking about he makes it a point to never attack anyone who is fighting to move the Overton window or society to the right.
Yeah.
Not people on the right. But no sense in fighting people who are trying to move the current position to the right.
Yeah, and I can agree with that.
Yeah, I thought that was super poignant.
Yeah, like if you disagree with them, just don't talk about it. you know.
Yeah, like the example that he brought up was Milo.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think Milo is a complete fag. But if I got to choose between Milo and Anderson Cooper, I got Milo's back.
Oh, well, yeah, naturally.
Like, I mean, I think that's really about as far as it should go with the alt-right.
Yeah, and it's tactical. It's not strategic. Because obviously in the long run, you don't want them around. But if they're in the trenches right now, you're not going to shoot them in the back. You can at least use them as a baby shield, like that mom.
Oh, man. When I was on the alt-right fight, that came up, and I'm like, these motherfuckers want me to feel pity for this lady, and they have nothing for Randy Weaver's wife? No, get out of here with that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's all bullshit.
I ain't got time for all that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, it was okay to murder Randy Weaver's wife while she was holding an infant because they did bad thing.
Yep. Or the Waco thing.
All right. Well,
which was the Clintons.
Well, it had Eric Holder's handprints all over it, as did Ruby Ridge.
Yeah? Huh.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the big, I think the big unifying conspiracy theory all the way through 9/11 is that the Clintons are fuck-ups.
Well, yeah.
Like from Waco to Ruby Ridge, to I've even heard very salient arguments, explaining that it was their failures that enabled 9/11 to happen.
Oh yeah, I mean they didn't help. Bush was also a fucking idiot. But yeah, the Clintons aren't. The Clintons are very good at not getting caught, and they're good at keeping their people happy, but they're not good at actually improving the nation.
No, they are political entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Like, they have a will to power, but it's a very base. It's not very inspirational. There's no transcendentalism there.
Well,
very weak.
There's no aristocracy in their power. Yeah. It's all just completely degenerate.
Mm-hmm. All right, do you want to answer some of these questions we got? I think the most important one, it was, would you rather bang Andrea Dworkin or Sheila Jackson Lee?
Oh, God.
Which, you know who Sheila Jackson Lee is, right?
I know exactly who that dumb she-boon is.
See, she's a lot closer to ours, so we know too much about her.
That fucking negress.
If you want to know why the Ivy League is total shit, she went to Yale.
Yeah, like, if this dumb she-boon could graduate from Yale, then,
Well, it's like Michelle Obama went to, 2 Ivy Leagues and then she failed the bar.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I never want to hear any of that nonsense. It's like, okay, big deal. You got to do a fucking Ivy. Like, this isn't the 1700s when they were good.
Yeah. I mean, they had to lower the standards because all the people like you that were being affirmative actioned in, and Michael Obama.
Yeah, and I think a lot of companies are actually realizing that Ivy League doesn't mean shit anymore because, I mean, my school, it's, big state school. We have some of the best corporate recruiting in the nation because we actually get shit done. Well, and it's not just a diversity fest.
And I'm pretty sure, if you're listening to the show, you more than likely found it through Twitter.
Yeah.
And if you're on Twitter, you've probably blasted the fuck out of some stupid Ivy League journalist that thinks they're hot shit.
Yep.
Like, these are the fucking same cut of cloth as the elites.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing. Whenever you get to a late empire, the elites are decadent, and they're not intelligent, and they're not powerful. They're just in this ancestral relationship between the main power sources of society.
Mm-hmm. And was it you that was talking about how the media has replaced the priest class as the anointers of kings?
I don't know if I said that specifically, but I agree. I have been talking about how, it's the merchant class that rules now.
Yeah.
And the media is part of the merchant class. I mean, advertising is how they make their money.
Oh, exactly. And the Olympics are totally shit in the bed. The Special Olympics.
Oh, yeah, I haven't watched any of it yet because I think Halberstram tweeted this, but what's the point of the Olympics when, the France and the Uganda soccer teams look the same? What's the point of watching that?
Well, I watched the German and Argentinian women's field hockey match yesterday.
Yeah.
And it was a little hard to tell the girls apart.
Yeah, and then the fact that they have a migrant team, and you just know they're going to rig it so they win some medal, and they'll be shilling that for like 2 weeks straight.
Well, what I think is funny, and something that I wanted to get into when I was on that show Friday,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like immediately after the shit show that the Olympics have been this year,
Yeah.
the idea of it being in like someplace like Africa have been completely forgotten about.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, no, make these fucking liberals, make them go to South Africa for a few months.
Mm-hmm.
Like, make them go lie in the bed they fucking made.
Well, it was like that petition. It was like, make Emma Watson stay for a week in a refugee camp without bodyguards.
Yeah. No, and that bitch won't put her money where her mouth is either.
Well, it's funny, like, apparently a bunch of refugees have been flooding into this Italian, like, Hollywood sanctuary community.
Yeah, dude, we
and,
talked
like,
about the
George Clooney is
right
leading the
across from
charge to
George
evict
Clooney.
them. That's great.
Yup.
I mean, they're just on a Oh Brother Where Art Thou kind of journey. You should relate to that, right?
Exactly. They're just like us, Goyim.
Yeah.
Like,
Good for you, not for me.
How hard would you laugh if he got murdered by a Ugandan with a machete?
I would love that because there'd be so many narratives clashing because they couldn't do gun control. They couldn't do demonize the person who attacked them. And they really, I bet if that happened, they couldn't even memorialize George Clooney that well.
No, because if they tried to memorialize George Clooney, they'd have to shit on that Muslim guy.
They would memory hole George Clooney. Which would be pretty great.
Oh my
Although
god.
I do enjoy some of his work. I mean, Oh Brother Where Art Thou's awesome. It's a great movie. But I'd love to see him hacked to death by a Ugandan.
I would laugh so hard that I might blow out my rectum.
Might have to do a prayer to Keck for that tonight.
Have to make it so.
Oh, we need to answer that question though. Dworkin or Sheila Jackson Lee?
Oh god.
I need to see what Dworkin looks like. I don't actually know what she looks like. I know she is.
It's rough, dude. It's real fucking rough.
I mean, that's not surprising. Oh, oh my
she's
god.
so rough.
Oh my god.
Yeah, like it's a tough
I might have
question.
to go Sheila.
I'm glad you said it first, because I was thinking the same thing. Like, even though Sheila Jackson Lee is a retarded she-boon, she looks more human than Andrea Dworkin.
Yeah, Dworkin looks like... I don't think I've seen...
She looks
We're
like
approaching levels of Jewish we haven't seen before.
She looks like Jabba the Hutt mixed with Weird Al's hair.
Look up a Sheila Jackson Lee cowboy hat for a good laugh.
Oh, nah, dude.
It's like a pink cowboy hat.
Is that going to be the cover photo for this episode?
I think it might have... Oh, dude, there's like pictures of her in all different colors of cowboy hats. You gotta Google this right now.
No, dude.
We've got pink, we've got red, black, purple, white. Oh my god. Are you seeing this?
Yeah, there's just pages and pages of it.
And I think she's... I don't know if this is Photoshop, but she's smoking a blunt in one of these. Okay, it's Photoshopped. It's a GIF. It's a GIF.
I looked up a Sheila Jackson Lee cowboy hat.
Honestly, her aesthetic is not bad.
Well, I got down about halfway down the page, and there's some super hot white chick in a low-cut shirt.
Nice.
In this big...
it's a reward for getting through all that.
through all the Sheila Jackson Lee.
Well, after all the Dworkin.
Like, look at this bitch in her fucking rhinestone cowboy hat.
That's Texas right there. I'm kind of glad she's the actual representative. Because she really red pills normies. Like, my dad, he hates her so much. And I'm kind of glad it's her and not some, like, you know, Cory Booker educated type.
Like somebody...
Because at least now they can't deny it.
Yeah, like, if you go into an argument with Sheila Jackson Lee, it's gonna be hard to lose that one, guys.
Oh, I saw there's this one, like, black congressman. I forgot what state he was from. But he was saying basically how, like, you know, we need to stop sending money to Israel because they're all murderers. And I was like, nice.
Oof. So, what other questions we got on here?
Oh, so Goy Orbison, he also asked, what are some good political strategy books? So I've got a lot of answers for this question. You want to go first, and then I'll add mine?
No, you take it away.
Okay. So I've read a lot of these, and I would say you have to look not just... The one thing I never do is read, like, current event politics books, because they're always just stupid money grabs by worthless pundits. So you really have to go back to history and look what great men actually studied.
Winners.
and what they found effective. So,
Winners.
first of all, Art of War, obviously. I mean, that's been read for thousands of years. It's such a given. I don't even want to talk much about it. Just read it. Next up, The Prince, Machiavelli. I'd say Machiavelli is one of my biggest inspirations. I mean, I read The Prince a long time ago, and I'm not that old. So I've really internalized a lot of his messages. And I remember even growing up, like, people used to say, you know, the ends justify the means, and in a bad way. And I was like, well, duh. I mean, isn't that every action you ever make is a means?
Yeah, it's a means to an end. Everything.
Yeah, but I've always been a pragmatist like that. So definitely The Prince. Moving on to more recent books. Rules for Radicals. That's an essential. So I remember this came up in 2008. It was like, you know, Glenn Beck, Limbaugh. They tried to smear Obama by bringing up Saul Alinsky and his book. It's basically Alinsky, you know, super Jewish. He was basically the first community organizer in Chicago in the 60s. So, you know,
organizer.
as paused as possible, and Hillary actually wrote her senior thesis on this book, Rules for Radicals. So basically, it has 13 of these rules, and I might actually pull these up because these are actually very good for us now. Because back in the 60s, these are the rules that they used to kind of overthrow, you know, civilized society. But for us now, when we are the radicals, we're not in power, these are very good techniques for us to use.
Let's run through them.
Yeah, so I just pulled it up. So these are Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. And this goes back to, don't think about ideology, think about what was effective. And you cannot say the left has not been effective in the last 50 years, because they've taken over completely. So number 1, power is not only what you have, but what the enemy thinks you have.
There's so much to that.
Yeah, that's why it's number 1, because it goes into everything. I mean, in military, it's like that. That's what all, you know, troop maneuvers are about. That's what planning for a battle is like. That's what the will to power is like, because power is not something you can measure objectively.
Well, that's like when I'm out there arguing with the fucking normies in meat space.
Mm-hmm.
I make sure that I'm as imposing as possible.
Yeah.
I'm so fucking sure of myself that they couldn't even fathom questioning me.
Yeah, because you can't just go logos. You got to go ethos, and you definitely have to go pathos. Mm-hmm. Especially if you're arguing with a woman. They can only respond to pathos and ethos. And logos is for autists.
My principles.
Yeah. My logic.
Let me tell you how, you know, if I were to put how do I feel about these my principles idiots.
Yeah. That was kind of quiet.
Oh, it's still quiet. Come on, AJ, you're killing me.
That's what I love, like, in person and on Twitter, when someone, I could tell they're trying to lead it down a Socratic method kind of thing, and you can always tell if you're not a fucking idiot. I'm just like, Socratic method, like, what are you talking about, faggot? Like, actually put forward your own point. Don't just lead this into, you know, oblivion here.
Yeah, fuck your
and so that's the thing.
Socrates.
That's something you should learn. Yeah, because he was a fucking NEET. But that's something you should learn from Trump. Like, he never let himself get into these autistic debate games with Rubio or Cruz. He flipped the whole script and was like, Cruz, your dad killed JFK and 9/11. And that's the thing. You got to use. Trump pretty much only uses pathos and ethos. He ignores logos completely, and that's what Scott Adams talks about. You want to appeal to identity and way above reason, because reason is useless.
Fucking Scott Adams, that chicken shit. Blocking me on Twitter. Fucking hater.
Yeah, he cucked out.
Yeah, he tapped.
Alright, so rule 2, never go outside the expertise of your people. And this is very smart. It kind of reminds me of when the Romans tried to first invade Britannia, and they had never really sailed before. And so, of course, they just, you know, make a couple hundred boats and then just sail immediately to Britain and then sink them all and lose like 50,000 legion.
Well, something else that was interesting about that, in the early naval conflicts,
mm-hmm.
the ships that the Romans were facing were so much taller than theirs.
Yeah.
that they were just sitting ducks getting shreked.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they eventually turned it around. They kind of innovated in boarding other ships and also like using manpower to row and then shredding the enemy sails. So they learned eventually, but when they first went in, they weren't really thinking. And so this means just you got to work with what you got. You got to dance who you came with, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so currently for our movement, that means, online activism, and we're moving into meat space, but that's currently our expertise. And so, of course, we're going to keep pumping that out.
But the transition to meat space is going to be fun.
Oh, it's fun. I mean, I'm already doing it with, the Goilers, and that's the thing. You got to get plugged in locally, because that's when the fun stuff really happens.
So I think that actually leads us to one of our next questions.
Oh, yeah?
Goy Orbison talking about local politics.
Oh, yeah. So I've actually worked on some local political campaigns, anywhere from student government to I've done some local congressional and local state rep races. And the thing about those, so at least with the districts I've been in, it's been against very strong incumbents with almost unlimited money. And so very, very difficult to beat an incumbent. I mean, I was working for this one guy, and he knocked on probably every single door in the district that was a likely voter, like thousands of doors. The incumbent didn't do anything and just bought a bunch of TV ads and smeared the guy and won by 30 points.
God damn. So
with local politics, if you're dealing with an incumbent that has ties to the community, that has wealth, it's near impossible to beat them. So when you're trying to get a political seat, it's always best to run for an open seat. Because running against incumbents is very difficult, and it'll make the local party hate you.
And like you said, you got to go to war with the army that you got, not the army that you wish you had.
Yeah. I mean, you look at Trump, like, he won because he already had decades of view in the public eye and unlimited money. If you're in a local race and you're going against a popular incumbent, it's not a good idea.
No. Like, the insurgency tactic isn't going to work there.
No. So it's better to join the machine. Like, start making those connections, be friendly with the people, join your local Republicans group, and start building those connections. So, when you're 30 years old and there's an open state rep seat, they're like, hey, we like this guy. He's a party man. He's solid. And that's when you make your way in, because you're not going to just be able to go against an incumbent and then post a lot of shit on Twitter and then think you'll win, Because local politics are a lot different than national, in that they don't like outside influence in their politics, which is why I think a lot of the Paul Nellen stuff could backfire, because the people in the district don't like being told what to do by someone who doesn't live in their own state or own district.
That is very valid.
Yeah, and that's something which, I see why people do it, because they're excited about him, they want to beat him, but it just reflects a lack of understanding for local politics, which, to be fair, most people don't understand local politics. You really have to have done it to understand it.
It's something I am hoping to do a little bit here coming up.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Do we have any other great questions?
Let's see. Let me check my old Twitter notifications.
Yeah, I thought I saw one. Oh, what time does it start, fam? Not a live show.
Yeah. Here's one that says, how far gone are Sweden and France? I think Sweden is very, very far gone, and they're weak.
Yep.
And that's another thing that annoys me on the alt-right. It's the white people didn't do nothing complex. Where, I'll be saying, like, Sweden let this happen to them, Throughout history, if you get invaded, it's because you didn't stop them, And you can't just blame everything on the media. You can't just blame everything on the Jews. Like, you have to take agency. That's what being a white person is about. Taking responsibility for your actions. And so Sweden has been disappointing me.
Poor Sweden.
I think with France, they have a richer history, and they've bounced back from arguably worse. If you look at the French Revolution, that was a shit show. And then after that, they came into glory with Napoleon. So I think if you can get like one of the Le Pens into power, start deporting, block off the pipeline, they can come back. Sweden, I have a lot less hope for.
But what is the racial makeup of France right now?
Let me Google it. I mean, the thing about theirs, like, even though it's very bad for them, it's probably still better than our demographics in the U.S.
That's kind of what I was thinking about.
So that's the thing you have to keep in mind here. Like, even England, it's still like 85% white, even though London is gone. But all of our major cities are gone.
Yeah, like there's probably like once you get over 250,000 people in a city.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna get peeked into.
Oh yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to find these demographics.
Right? Like I found a pie chart, but it's like a fucking pie chart for ants.
Ants?
Yes.
I don't care about the ant demographics.
Right? And
I found an internet access provider one.
It's absolute
okay, I don't.
Garbage.
I'm not going to keep googling. It's something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, looking at just how like let's see here. A law from 1872 prohibits the French Republic from conducting census by making any distinction between its citizens in terms of race or religious beliefs.
Oy vey.
So French demographics can be a bit hard to determine. Like,
well, there you go.
From 1872, like that's how long the pause has been pausing.
Oh, it's because of the revolution's slogan, liberty, equality, fraternity. Only one of those is good. And it's frat bra.
Oh, yeah. Frat broing out is some fun broing out.
Okay, so rule 3. Whenever possible, go outside the expertise of the enemy. This one is really good, and I think right now that's social media.
Absolutely.
I mean, Twitter is where we're winning the war against the cucks and the journalists.
Well, and I think in discussion, too, when you're able to, like sort of take the moral high ground against people.
Yeah.
And force them, to go outside of the arguments that they have every single day.
Well, and also just knowing more than they do. So, like, when I'm in a political argument, I'm not talking about... Most normies, they just talk in a purely post-World War II context, or even a purely post-9/11 context. They have no understanding of history. And so when I'm dropping references to, like, the fall of Rome, the Xin Dynasty in China, like, they have no idea what the fuck they're doing, and, like, they just get intimidated by the knowledge.
Oh, yeah.
And they just shut down.
I was on a rant the other day about how, at the height of the Roman Empire, you could go from Hadrian's Wall, where had to keep those Scottish animals out of the empire.
Had to keep Mel Gibson out.
All the way, basically, to the outskirts of Iran.
Mm-hmm.
One language, one culture, one rule of law. And, like you said, like you start hitting normies with that kind of shit, they're like, oh, fuck. Like, I'm pulling up against a 1969 GTO Judge in my Nissan Leaf.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and it's like, I think the last implicit statement of normiehood is when they're like, haha, how do you know all this stuff? It's like, because I'm not a fucking idiot. Because I have intellectual curiosity. Like, why don't you know this?
Yeah.
Stop watching SportsCenter all day, maybe you would know.
Right? Read a book, motherfucker.
Mm-hmm. I like to drop the readers or leaders line. And I was even talking to, I think this girl maybe last weekend, and we were talking about, we both like reading, we're talking about that, and I dropped, readers or leaders. She's like, oh, I really like that. Like, at first she thought I was joking. I was like, no, I'm serious. Like, any leader in history was well-read and educated. Yeah. Any good one.
Well, I mean, that's one of the reasons that Churchill was so willing to go to blows with Hitler.
Yeah.
It's like what he always said. It's like, well, I read Hitler's book, and I disagree.
Yeah. I know a lot of people like to counter-signal against Churchill, because he pretty much was very belligerent in starting the war, but he won. So, and he spoke English, so that's a win right there, too.
Yeah. Life is too short to learn German.
Yeah, I can never counter-signal that hard, and that I'm supporting the loser over the winner, because that's just a cucked mentality.
But you don't want to look like you're on the bandwagon, that you're always going with, whoever's winning or more popular.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a contrarian. So, I mean, like, I think it was like early last week or maybe this week where I was like, so y'all talk about Hitler all the time, but he fucking lost. Like, Stalin actually won, and Russia's actually good right now, unlike Germany. And then a few people got pretty mad, but other people were like, that's a pretty good point.
Oh yeah, I was enjoying watching those interactions.
Mm-hmm. Because the thing about me, it's like, I won't really, like, people try to, moral signal. It's like, how could you say that? He's a commie. It's like, okay, but look at Russia right now. It's doing better than Germany. And then since they're also Putin lovers, like, I don't see how someone can reconcile being a Putin lover, but then not understanding the history that took them to that point. Like, Putin is not in a vacuum here.
Nothing. Well, that's something else that normies don't fucking understand.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing happens in a vacuum.
Exactly, except space.
but
unfortunately, there's not much space history yet.
No. Well, going back to that question about the books, that's why I read the Warhammer 40K books.
Mm-hmm.
It's great aesthetics as far as the fashiness.
Yeah.
And it's the ideology of a will to power is pretty evident.
Yeah, and Imperium. Yeah. And the thing about some people, they're like, oh, I don't read fiction, like only nonfiction. They don't realize that culture, politics are downstream from culture. And culture is literature, it's art, it's movies. So you need to have that kind of right-wing art that'll manifest itself into politics.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to convince somebody that the God Emperor is great.
Yeah. Yeah, like you convince them of the aesthetics. You don't talk about the fucking mixed economy setup of a galactic imperium unless you're a fucking autiste.
No, you explain that the Emperor protects.
Yeah, and then especially with women, they like aesthetics. They want security, and if the God Emperor's good looking, that'll probably help too.
Well, you remember that poll that Mr. Stone ran about the aesthetics of the Legionnaires versus the Nazis?
Yeah.
I was showing the girls at work the different pictures and asking them to choose.
Mm-hmm.
And there was more than one girl who really liked those handsome blonde Nazis.
Well, actually, in Israel, there's a really big market for Nazi porn.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I think I've said this before on here, but there's this Jewish girl that's friends with my roommate. Grew up with her. So she was over for our Christmas party, and we like to keep Mein Kampf in the living room just because it's fun. Like, he does it because he's ironic, edgy hipster type. I do it because, it's fucking Mein Kampf. And so I had her take a picture with it in front of the Christmas tree. So I think she could probably be stripped of her, Aliyah for that, right? I mean, a Christmas tree. Right to return in Israel.
Ah, gotcha.
It's funny. I know 2 or 3 Jewish girls from college, and I swear, this summer they've either been in Israel or New York.
What's
and it's
the difference?
Exactly. I mean, Tel Aviv and New York, same thing, different time zone.
Well, I mean, the New York Times is basically a later edition of the Jewish Daily Forward.
Speaking of that, I saw this Jewish girl tweet on my normie Twitter. She was like, everyone in NPR seems pretty Jewish, and she's Jewish, so for her that was just a normal thing to say. And then my friend was like, I forgot what he said. It was and something else, and then I was like, and Hollywood and the banks. And she liked my comment though, because that's the thing. If you're upfront about these things, young people don't care, but also they've grown up in that culture of everything is fair game.
Well, I told a Jew that I worked with once. It's like, listen, buddy. Don't try any of your Jew tricks on me. I'm not one of these dumb goyim.
Yeah, take the Cartman approach.
And he looked at me and he sort of laughed.
Mm-hmm.
And the dude never fucked around with me.
The thing is, I don't blame them for thinking a lot of goys are dumb, because
a lot of goys are dumb.
Yeah, most people are fucking dumb. I mean, I don't disagree at all. It's just I want to rule over the dumb whites, not let the Jews do it.
Yeah, go rule over the dumb Jews.
Yeah, it's only I can, be the dictator over them, not you.
Yeah, it's this is my family situation.
Yeah, you can make fun of your sister. You don't want a Jew doing it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I think we're still on we're number 4 now. So, make the enemy live up to its own book of rules. This is a great one. Because this is how the conservatives have been losing.
Yeah,
for decades.
No one's ever said, hey, the New York Times editorial staff isn't very diverse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's the thing. We need to use their roles against them like that, and also make sure we don't let the enemy. A perfect example of this is Khan. Throwing the Constitution in our face. We need to say, like, it doesn't apply to you. You're not one of us. You can't use that against us.
If I can, where did I hear this? But somebody said, if you make the argument that the Second Amendment only applies to muskets and not modern firearms, then that also it also follows that the First Amendment only applies to Christians.
Yeah. And you can't be talking on the internet either.
No.
Only in the public square.
No, if you want to fucking break out nothing but muskets for the Second Amendment, you better send that shit to me on a...
and only property-owning whites can vote then. If we're going to originalism here.
Right?
We're bringing back the Three-Fifths Compromise then. You don't want to go there.
Because we'll go.
And that's the good thing about having knowledge of our founding, but not letting it rule over you. Because you can swat down all those arguments easily, but you don't get caught in this trap the conservatives do where they value a piece of paper over flesh and blood.
Over victory? Over survival?
Yeah, I mean, they fetishize a piece of paper. Like, I don't give a shit about the Constitution.
If I got to choose between my people and the Constitution,
yeah,
I will
Constitution
dance.
can go fuck itself.
I'll dance in the ashes of the Constitution.
I will wipe my ass with the Constitution.
Ooh.
I hope we have like a few like libertarian normie friends that are just spurging out right now.
Oh God, I hope so.
I try to like. I think that's what we try to do each week, like kind of toughen up our people so they either drop out or they just move forward stronger.
Yeah, I mean the strong blades get sharper.
Yeah, and the weak get cut in half.
They break.
All right, so number 5 is perfect for the alt-right, and this is why when people are like, "Oh, you read Rules for Radicals," it's like, okay, if you would fucking read it, you'd understand how powerful these tactics are. I mean, the left won with them. So, rule number 5. Ridicule is man's most potent weapon.
Oh my God.
And is that not just a description of trolling right there?
Well, when I decided to create my my alt-right Twitter account, I was able to put on this mask and be as much of an asshole as I wanted to anybody that I wanted.
Yeah, it's great. And unlike 4chan, when you're talking to your own people, Twitter lets you say all the shit you want to say to normies, but you don't want to get fired for, with impunity.
Mm-hmm.
And then instead of just 1 or 2 people hearing you, like in real life, if you're in a conversation on Twitter, I mean, I got over 2 million impressions last month. And so that means 2 million times people looked at a tweet of mine, which is pretty damn cool.
Oh, yeah. I mean, for us to just be a bunch of jack-offs on the internet in our mom's basement.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, like, this is, in this time, especially on the internet, it's like if you're good at spreading your message, people will see it. If you're in the 1400s, you can hang, leaflets around your town and speak in the town square. A lot more difficult. And here, number 6 is also great. A good tactic is one your people enjoy.
And that takes us back to trolling.
Exactly. And then you can also see this in the left. Like, when they do their street activism, 1, they pay them, so they enjoy that. And 2, they let them chimp out, which is what they want to do anyway. And so, alt-right Twitter is really letting us just chimp out on the internet.
The old space to destroy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, and also with, like, our IRL stuff. Like, when we do the hate hikes, I mean, we're getting to go out in nature, we're talking with the bros, and we're intimidating local swipples at the park with their Trump hats and all black.
Well, shit, you're intimidating the local swipples, but think about the little boy who, still watches, like, the Justice League cartoons and shit.
Yeah.
And sees these strong, good-looking white guys out all together, uniformly dressed.
Well, the thing is, like, all the white people see in the park, they usually say hi to us, like, how's it going? And they're very friendly. The other types, not so much, but they know.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, I'd say the non-whites understand your intent better than the whites do.
Oh, of course they do. Of course. That's the thing about That's another thing that annoys me about conservatives when they're like, oh, why do 95% of blacks vote Democrat? Because they know where the bread is buttered. I mean, they're making a smart decision voting Democrat.
When I was trying to first really bring Mr. Stone into the alt-right,
yeah,
he was a little bit resistant to going full race realism.
Yeah.
And that's, I said, okay, I'll make a deal with you. You offer the blacks logic, reason, and evidence. We'll let the Democrats offer them welfare, and we'll see who wins.
Exactly. Because if you look on, like, actual issues, they don't support fag marriage, but if they're getting their payoff, they don't give a shit.
Yeah. Like, issue by issue, they should be voting for the conservatives, but... I don't want to turn this into the Dems or the real racist bullshit.
No, don't do it. I mean, honestly, if I was a minority, I would either be voting Democrat, because that's the logical thing to do if you're getting your Gibbs, or I would be rent-seeking on the right, like Dinesh, whatever.
Dinesh D'Souza.
And all the tokens that spoke at the RNC, because if you just, like, act like you like their stuff, you don't have to say anything profound. Just be like, I'm a Mexican for Trump. And then, you start a GoFundMe and you'll probably make $20,000 because people are fucking naive.
Well, I was trying to listen to the podcast of Stefan Molyneux with Dinesh D'Souza that came out over the weekend.
Yeah.
And I got like 5 minutes in. I was just like, oh my God, this is so fucking boring.
Yeah.
Like, this is the most basic bitch entryist tier shit that I've ever fucking heard.
Well, it's kind of like, women don't have to be funny because, people want to fuck them. It's the same with minorities in the GOP. They don't have to be smart or insightful because people just want a status signal by saying, oh, look at our token.
Do you know why they call the midsection of a woman a waist?
Why?
Because they could have fitted another set of titties there.
It's funny because I think that was something I actually figured out, like, really early in my life, like in middle school, and it wasn't even from someone saying anything, but I realized, like, I'm a 6th grader, 7th grader at school, I'll talk to these girls in class, I'll make them laugh. I had a revelation, like, they had never made me laugh once.
No, like, I got into a huge argument when I was in college with, like, this artsy girl who thought she was, like, super fucking smart. Like, look, I'll be honest with you, the only reason that I've ever laughed at your jokes is because I thought I might be drunk enough to have sex with you sometime.
Yeah.
Which she was not excited to hear that. But we started arguing about, like, female comedians. She's like, oh, well, Liza Lampanelli. I was like, no. Like,
it's like the only ones that are actually funny would only be, like, an average male comedian. Like, I'll give you Tina Fey. Mean Girls was funny. But that's, like, such a rare exception. That's just engaging in Naxaltism.
Even a broken clock is right twice a day.
Yeah, like, there's some smart blacks. Like, that doesn't mean I want them here. That doesn't mean I want a woman comedian.
Well, and even, like, you look at Tina Fey's work, her being funny is an aberration.
Yeah.
Because she is normally not funny.
Well, the thing is, like, I like 30 Rock actually a lot because of the Alec Baldwin character. He's just an ubermensch, like, awesome. Whenever she's on the scene, I'm just like, okay, move on. I want to see another Alec Baldwin scene.
Ah, shit. I almost had his name remembered and I forgot.
Who?
Ah, shit.
Who am I?
The character that Baldwin plays on there.
Jack
Donovan?
No, he's straight. Okay, I'm gonna look it up because I want to know this. It's Jack Donaghy.
Jack Donaghy.
Yeah,
That was kind of close.
That one's funny because, like, he's, like, dating Condoleezza Rice at one point.
Well, he's another one of those characters that lipshits thought that they would make and that everyone would hate, but he was everyone's favorite fucking character.
Yeah, because he was a powerful man who dressed well, who's good looking,
Who was competent.
Successful. Yeah, that's the thing, like, and that's why they fear them the most. It's like, I think maybe The Daily Show was talking about this a while ago, how, like, there's hardly any, like, Aryan Superman action stars anymore. I mean, you have the Captain America guy, and that's about it.
Well, that's the only place that a white guy can be in an action movie anymore.
Yeah,
in a
otherwise they'll
superhero
get
film.
Seth Rogen to do it or something.
Well, or Jamie Foxx.
Oh, yeah, or Will Smith. Or Tom Cruise, who's a manlet. Well, I remember they're like... There's this series of books. I forgot the name of them, but it's about like this, ex-special forces kind of assassin kind of guy, like a political thriller kind of book. My dad enjoys them. But in the book, this guy's like 6'4", swole, and then they cast Tom Cruise to play his part. My dad was like, what the fuck? What the fuck? Like, it should have been like an Arnold-type character.
Well, that's when I was, when I saw that they were making a Walking Dead TV series.
Mm-hmm.
And they cast Rick and Shane as Jews.
Yeah.
And the show is set, like, Rick and Shane are from Cynthiana, Kentucky.
Yeah.
And I've been in that part of the country, and there are no Jews.
Well, in the first episode, they try to make the southern guy look like, the terrible guy. If you're
I don't remember exactly what went down. Hit me.
I only watched the first season because it just pissed me off.
Yeah. Like, after that,
all right, but moving on.
Yeah,
it's
narrative
just
implosion.
not worth it.
Same thing with Game of Thrones.
All right, so rule number 7. A tactic that drags on too long becomes a drag. This is also true. Like, you got to keep it fresh. That's why I keep my Twitter brand fresh.
Well, you look at Conservatism Inc. It's dying because it was made to battle communism.
Yeah, and now it's over.
Like,
once you win the war, you can't just rest on your laurels. You have to find the next enemy to destroy. Otherwise, internal enemies will destroy you.
Exactly. And that's more will to power.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the Romans. Once they conquered, one of those lesser civilizations, once they conquered Carthage, they didn't just stop and rest on their laurels. They looked for the next bad guy to go after, because if you're not challenging yourself and you don't have a worthy enemy, you'll destroy yourself.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Shit. Was it von Braun who made all those predictions that we would go from the communists to the terrorists and X, Y, and Z?
Probably. It wasn't hard to see what the trajectory would be, honestly.
Well, after he got past the terrorist, he said that the next great enemy would be like the danger of us being hit by a space debris, like asteroids and shit.
Yeah.
And then after that, it would be against the aliens.
I can't wait for that one. That'd be fun.
I'm just hoping that we genocide the first alien race that we come in contact with.
Well, it's like, you get into prison, you gotta punch the first guy in the face.
Exactly.
You gotta genocide your first alien race so they don't fuck with Earth.
They're like, alright, well, if we fuck around with Earth, they will kill us all.
I'm gonna LMAO elsewhere. These guys are savages.
And see, that's why I read the 40K book, because you can't suffer a Xeno to live.
Mm-hmm.
In the Emperor's name, let none survive.
I respect that. I mean, it's like Ender's Game. You gotta wipe them all out before they wipe us out.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of good nonfiction out there. Or, I mean, good amount of fiction.
Yeah, and one I have is Dune. Dune is incredible. And then Dune, it's also... Have you ever read it?
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Okay, yeah, so the thing I like about Dune is that, the Eridan people, the Sand people, the thing about them is that it reminds me of the fall of Rome, because all of these other countries, or all these other groups, the royal families, they become so weak and decadent. They've just been living on the spice high life, for all their life. But then while the Sand people, they had been basically living with no resources, and they've been warlike people. And so when they finally had to lead them into battle, they had the global jihad that wiped out the entire universe, because they're so much stronger than everyone else.
Exactly. And I mean, might makes right. At the end of the day, all your ideologies, all your philosophy, it's all irrelevant if you
only matters if you win. Exactly. All right, you want to take a bathroom break?
We'll take another quick hiatus here, guys, and we'll be right back after this. gentlemen, welcome back to the Exodus Americanus. I'm the White Power Ranger. I am. You can find me at Roscoe SB Jones on Twitter with my main man, Donald Bateman. He's at Nationalism Rise. When we last spoke, we were talking about Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals.
Yep, and I'll just hop right back in. So rule number 8, keep the pressure on. Never let up. So this is a great one. It's really about being tenacious and about never stopping until your enemy is crushed beneath you and you can hear the lamentations of his women.
Exactly. You don't stop till you win, and then you find another enemy to crush.
Yeah, so I think this one's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, don't stop until you have absolute victory and never let up. So rule number 9, this is a really good one too. The threat is usually more terrifying than the thing itself.
Oh, and that's a couple of weeks ago we were sort of talking about the Plato allegory of the cave, and you know, part of our awakening is realizing that our enemy is not as powerful as we think they are.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know, that sort of runs back to the other rule that he talks about. What is it that power is? The illusion of power is just as good as power.
Well, yeah, like power, it's not only what you have, what the enemy thinks you have.
There we go.
And so, yeah, it's kind of the back end of that, in that you have to realize that the enemy, if you're looking at their power, they don't really have that much power. Sometimes they're inflated by media or by history. But a great empire can fall so quickly if it doesn't have actual power backing it up. And that goes into valuing companies. I mean, Enron, everyone thought they were the most powerful until they were nothing.
They're gone now.
R.I.P. Great Houston company. R.I.P. So, next rule, if you push a negative hard enough, it'll push through and become a positive.
Oof. Now, where I'm looking at it has a quote after that. Violence from the other side can win the public to your side because the public sympathizes with the underdog.
Yep. And that's the thing. Back in the 60s, I mean, the radical left, they were the underdogs. I mean, they were pushing for civil rights, all of that. Nowadays, they are the establishment, and we're the underdog.
Well, and, you know, you take what happened with Heimbach and the Trad Workers Party at the Battle of Sacramento. You turn that on for normies, and they see a bunch of just, you know, respectable-looking white guys trying to defend themselves from an angry mob of what can only be called the Coalition of the Fringes.
Yeah, and then that reporter lady was like an Asian lady, and so she was more down with the trad workers than the commies. So that was cool. And yeah, with that, that's also goes on with our message, and really Trump's message. Like, the media can say it's negative all they want, but if the people keep voting for it, it's pushed through, you know?
Mm-hmm. And Trump plays the media like a master pianist.
Oh yeah,
like he can, for the most part, get them to do whatever he wants them to do. He has weaponized their own bias
against them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, just the amount of free media that he's gotten from their outrage.
Mm-hmm. And then also the alt-right has got some of that free media. When journalists, they basically print our arguments word for word, and they say, oh my god, look at this terrible thing. But then read it, and they're like, huh, okay.
And that's what's so funny. It's like, you know, these people that will, you know, keep arguing with us and keep arguing with us.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, you know, they get past our bombastic and confrontational language.
Yeah, and they see the substance.
Mm-hmm.
Because think about the bombast, it's only a tactic. Once we have power, we're not going to be bombastic. We're going to be crushing all dissent.
Exactly.
And that's another thing, like, you know, free speech is a tactic. It's not a belief I have.
No.
We use it when it's useful, but we're not going to let commies, you know, go through the same thing they did and subvert us again once we get power.
A normie, like, heard me sort of hinting that I didn't really believe in freedom of speech.
Yeah.
And I told him, I was like, well, not for commie socialists like you. I don't believe in freedom of speech.
Yeah. I mean, not for people that want to corrupt the youth like Socrates.
Or Michael Jackson.
Yeah. But Mel Gibson needs freedom of speech.
Well, obviously. And who's that, that pedophile who got ran out of America? That the left loves.
Oh, yeah, that French guy.
Yeah, oh, God.
Oh, the French question. French are white, of course. I don't even want to discuss that.
Well,
one word, Napoleon.
That's what I was saying about, like, we were talking about trying to figure out France's demographics. Like, like, fuck, I would love if somebody could find a decent...
Yeah. Actually, I don't know if I want to know, but it would be good to know.
Yup. All right.
All right, so rule 11. The price of a successful attack is a constructive alternative. So what does your thing say about that?
Never let the enemy score points because you're caught without a solution to the problem. Old saw. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. Activist organizations have an agenda, and their strategy is to hold a place at the table, to be given a forum to wield their power. So they have to have a compromise solution.
Okay, and that's kind of the art of the deal there. Like, you might come out with a really bombastic thing, but then when you're at the table, you have to be ready to just get whatever you can.
Exactly. Well, there's a one of my normie friends. I got him to listen to our last episode where we had had Wooderson on.
Yeah.
And I asked him, I was like, so how horrifying did you find that? And he was like, it was funny, but it was a little horrifying. And I asked him, I said, but was there anything in there that I hadn't already said to you in much more diplomatic language? And he thought about it. He's like, no, fuck, dude, you're right.
And that's another example of you have to have two messages, one for the insider party and one for the outsiders.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's what the alties can't understand. Like, when they'll attack someone like Richard Spencer for being polished and for being implicit about some of his arguments, because he's not trying to rally the base. He's trying to expand the base.
He's trying to get us enough numbers that we can win.
Yeah. And, I mean, you look at Hitler. He took a conservative vice chancellor who would have been called a cuck probably back then by the Nazis, but it helped him win.
And that's what this is about, guys.
It's not about purity. It's about winning.
Yeah. If an argument... I mean, it doesn't matter if your argument is logical or not. If, like
it probably shouldn't be logical.
Well, I've told my libertarian friends that are all about their principles. It's like, that's great. I agree with you on all of the argumentative points. Now convince somebody with an 85 IQ of those lofty ideas.
Yeah. Yeah, like I had arguments. It's like, but we have to think. You're compromising. Your morals here. It's like, my moral is winning. I think it's immoral to lose. And that's what I operate on. All right, so what'd you say, winners?
Oh, winners don't lose.
Exactly. Great book. Well, it's like Vince Lombardi said, my dad kind of raised me on this quote, too. Winning isn't everything. It's the only thing. It's a fact. All right, so rule 12. Pick the target, freeze it, personalize it, and polarize it. This is another perfect one.
That's there's so many Trump examples of this. Like, I love the way he handles these shitty journalists. He calls a press conference, and he's like, you, Mindy, you just wrote in USA Today X, Y, and Z. Points at them, calls them out, and
And that's the thing, conservatives haven't done this ever, attacking journalists. Because they're used to being able to just attack carte blanche and no one would do anything about it. But we have to take the fight to them, and that's what we're doing on Twitter. We've run people off of Twitter.
Oh, man. It's so fun to get into arguments with these people that, they can't go off of the
script.
They can't go off the script. They can't go off of the racetrack.
And ultimately, I mean, they're weak people. They grew up, they didn't play sports. They grew up in the Northeast. They went to an Ivy League school where they were babied. They've never been in a fight in their life.
If they've ever been in a fight, they've never been in a fight that wasn't broken up by somebody pretty quick.
Yeah, and they definitely didn't win. And you see this in, Shapiro and others that are always like, oh, Trump's a bully. And that's if anyone ever calls someone a bully, I just assume they're a faggot and a weak piece of shit. Because bullying is what made America great.
Well, I could definitely see an argument that I was, the quote unquote victim of some bullying when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
And it's like, who wasn't?
Yeah, like I didn't just okay, you guys can bully me. It's like, all right, motherfucker, I got to put my fist up and we got to swing.
Yeah.
Like,
and then once you do that, you're good to go.
Oh, not where I was from. I had to fight a lot.
Yeah.
It's like I always say, bullying is either used to teach you to stop acting like such a fucking weirdo, or to teach you how to fight.
Yeah.
And I picked the latter.
Yeah. Whatever works. See, I was in, wrestling, so we fought every day. And so no one really tries to bully people that know how to fight.
Well, where I am from, fighting was everybody had a big old chip on their shoulder.
Yeah.
And going to blows wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah, so you're a little older than me. We had this kind of zero tolerance if you're fighting in a school context.
Oh, God.
So that kept the Anglos in line.
God,
I mean, no one wants to get suspended when it's a bunch of people trying to get into college,
Oh, shit. I got in fights in a high school with my football teammates.
Yeah.
Where one of us would have to get, glue above their eye where somebody got socked really good.
See, we would fight, but it was, more for fun than anything. Like, there'd be sparring in the football lockers. Like, wrestling kids would have a fight club outside of school. But it wasn't really, malevolent. It was more for fun.
Well,
which is probably better.
Well, where I played for my dad, I had a lot of people that thought that they could prove something by taking a swing at me.
Yeah.
And like I always say, if you're going to take a shot at the king, you better kill the king.
You best not miss.
And it's not even you best not miss. You better kill the king.
Yeah. And people are going to learn that once Trump becomes president. And the purges start.
See, and the thing about the purges, I think once the purges start, a lot of people will get in
they'll
fucking
fall in line. Oh, yeah. Because that's the thing. People respond to strength, and the weak do fear the strong.
Oh, shit.
Alright, do you have anything else?
I think we got one more question on Twitter, but I don't know if it's coherent.
Good.
Someone please explain white.
It's the way Jared Taylor says white.
Yeah, dude. Like, if you don't know that shit by now, come on, bro. You're like somebody who's getting red pilled by listening to this show.
Fucking normies.
This is
actually true hipsters.
Well, this isn't necessarily the place to get red pilled. This is the place for the cool kids of the alt-right. I mean, coming on our show is pretty much the only way to prove that you're not a commie Jew fuck.
Yeah, and so far there's only been one person confirmed. That's Wooderson.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like we've kind of confirmed that the guys on the alt-right fight aren't JIDF, since you and I have both been on there.
They did invite us, yeah.
But we'll have to have one of them as a guest before we can go 100% on that.
Well, yeah, aren't we having DeMarcus tentatively next week?
Yeah, that's the rumor. I'm pretty excited.
Good stuff.
But
Jazz Hands didn't reply to my DM, so it's going good over there.
Excellent. We are really pushing this hipster aesthetic.
We got some good progress here. That's why we don't want to go mainstream.
No, I realized after people started talking about needing us on the TRS radio page, nah, dude, that's gonna fuck up our brand.
Yeah, that's gonna kill our brand. There won't be one among many.
All right, and unless you got anything else, I think that does it for tonight.
I think so. Hope y'all enjoy the twosome.
It was weird without having the shepherd to keep us in line.
The voice of reason.
It's rough when he's the voice of reason. The car's going pretty damn fast at that point.
Well, we just said we don't believe in logos or logic, so we can't really claim the voice of reason here.
Absolutely. Now, don't forget, go to www.exodusamericanus.com. Click that button up there in the corner and send us some good boy points. And speaking of donations, our main man Boat Sinker is going without this week because he sent in a big donation so we could feast on the tendies this week.
Mm-hmm. He's starving right now.
Yeah, he's out back going through dumpsters behind his apartment complex, hoping that some groid threw out a pizza box with some pepperoni and cheese stuck to the lid.
Yeah, and since we're funded by Soros, it was kind of redundant, but we still appreciate it.
Well, as long as we're undermining the whites.
Yeah, and attacking the noble NEET.
All right, guys, you take it easy. We'll be back here next week in full force. Strength and honor.
Strength and honor.